Honorable Speaker, His Excellency the President directed that former presidents be paid a one-off ex gratia payment of 1 billion shillings each and 333 million for the 3 titular heads under the Presidential Commission that had a shared presidency comprising of Justice Paul Nyamchoncho, RIP, Justice Saulo Musoke, RIP, and Yoweri Hunter Wacha Orwol, RIP. The list of other former leaders covered under presidential directive, Right Honorable, is attached, and I will go to it. And I wish members to go through that list. Under the category of former presidents, that's at the back of the statement. We have number 1, the late Sir Edward Mutesa, who got 1 billion. The late Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, his estate got 1 billion. The late Idi Amin Dada got 1 billion. Late Yusuf Kironde Rule got 1 billion. The late Godfrey Lukongwa Binaisa got 1 billion. Late Justice Saulo Musoke got 333 million. Billion. Late Yoweri Hunter Wacha Dr. Apollo 333 million. The late Justice P. Nyamchoncho got 333 million. The late Okello Lutwa estate got 1 billion. The former vice presidents included late W.W. Nadiope. The estate got 400 million. Late Babiha, they got 400 million. Late Wilson Gadi Toko, they got 400 million. Late Dr. Samson Kiseka, they got 400 million. Late Paulo Mwanga, they got 400 million. Right on to speak on the former prime ministers. Late Engineer Abraham Waligo got 200 million. Late George Cosmas Adiebo got 200 million. The late Eric Otema Limadi got 200 million. And Right Honorable Kintu Musoke got 200. On the former speakers, Butajira Francis got 350 million. The late Wapakaburu's estate got 350 million. The late Francis Ayume's estate got 350 million too. The former deputy speakers of parliament, late Betty Okwit's estate got 300 million, and Alhaji Moses Kigongo got 300 million. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to bring to your attention that ex gratia payments to the estate of former President late Idi Amin Dada and Godfrey Lukongwa Binaisa were paid to the office of the Administrator General under the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs for further management due to a lack of harmony in the families. On the issue of failure by government to return the properties belonging to the family of late Idi Amin Dada, including Plot 10 on Prince Charles Drive, Kololo, the matter is outside the mandate of the Minister of Public Service, and I wish to guide that Minister of Lands and Urban Development intervenes in addressing this issue. Right Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, I'd like to inform the House that it's not true that government had unfulfilled obligations under the emoluments of the President, Vice President, and the Prime Minister's Act 2010. I would like to bring to your attention the fact that government, after fulfilling its obligations on compensations whatsoever, does not carry out tracer studies to assess the impact of the payments to the beneficiaries, be it ex gratia, pension, war claimants, and whatever kind of compensation compensation to claimants. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Now, Yes, Honorable Minister, we wanted to know about the house for Mrs. Amin. You mentioned it, but you haven't told us whether she has got it back. Okay, Achon, Amacho, and Bakabudi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and Honorable Ministers. The clarification I wanted to seek, Honorable Minister and Honorable Speaker, among all the states or the former state being read, former Milton Obote led this country twice. Does it mean that it's going to be paid once or twice? The reason why I ask, in sports, the pay you depend how many times you broke the world record. Either 10 times, 2 times. That's the clarification I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Right Honourable Speaker. And I want to thank the Minister, at least now you're giving us the information. By my concern, His Excellency, the Vice President of Uganda, Edward Skandi, was the former Deputy Speaker of this House. And he was the former Speaker of this House. In the list of the people you have given the money, I've heard Chintu Musoke and others, but I have not heard his name. What explanation are you giving? Because those were 2 different chairs, capacities of which he has to be paid his money. And when time comes, you also pay for his being His Excellency the Vice President. Thank you.
Also, Honorable Minister, the late Alex Waibale was a Speaker and Deputy Speaker. I also don't see his name here. Honorable Macho?
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for his submission. Madam Speaker, the Minister in his submission talked about his docket not having authority to comment about the properties of the President he mentioned here. But Madam Speaker, we see properties of those presidents are really affecting the political atmosphere of this country. I therefore request that the Minister should not run away from it, because it is good issues to be settled at a go. My party in the National Resistance Movement, I believe it performed not very well in the central region in Uganda, because they keep demanding their properties all the time. They're demanding land, they're demanding the district headquarters that we are using, which they call Amagombola in Uganda. And recently I heard also His Highness, the Chabazingo of Busoga, demanding for his properties. I therefore believe and request the government that it is high time we come out with a solution on this matter, and government should make a statement on this so that we settle it once and for all, that this time that we're gonna be sworn in as a new government, we begin at a new pace. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. It was, okay. Honorable Gwar, Sabagara, Gonzaga.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm also seeking clarification. I know that Joseph Ekemo was also once Deputy Speaker, and I've not heard his name. So can I be clarified on that issue?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank the Minister for giving this statement. However, let me advise him that whenever you are citing a constitution, give some articles of the constitution in your report. That's why you have legal departments in the ministry sometimes. Second, Honorable Speaker, in the 3rd paragraph, he says, I think 3rd paragraph 4th, Right Honorable Speaker, His Excellency the President directed that former presidents be paid a one-off ex gratia payment of 1 billion
shillings each, 300 million, staggering. Can you answer me, Honourable Minister, as you look at me? Do you expect Mr. Museveni will get an ex gratia of the same, and it will be one-off? These presidents, right now, Speaker, never left the power because they wanted. They were overthrown. And indeed, when they were brought in, when you talk about Nyamuchoncho, the other three, because I've taught them in schools, they were brought at a very critical time when government, when problems were escalating in the country under political issues. Now, if they came in to offer their service, and you cannot pay them diligently, you are not fair. Rather than Speaker, let us stop this habit of looking at those people who left power or offices, and we look at them as people who are not useful after their service. So, Honourable Minister, can you answer me? The president has ruled for 35 years, coming to 40. Do you think we'll also get a one-off, or there's something must prepare? If there's anything you want to amend, you tell us. I don't know, Speaker, as I conclude. I think we as Parliament, honourable members, we must come out, make our law, pass it, and give them their money. Benefits of these people are not, some of them are not the ones going to get the benefits from them, but it's their children. And their children are there. During that time, maybe those children were not studying. Maybe they were suffering. Maybe they were in exile because of their fathers who are trying to solve problems in this country. So let us not underrate by just writing a small report, the 1995 Constitution, and you are not quoting the articles of the Constitution that are not mentioning these people. So, Mr. Speaker, I pray that with your wisdom, kindly let us come out with a position. If there's any legislation not put in place, we do it and pay these people. They enjoy their lives. Some of them are about to die. Others died. I was in where they buried the late Milton Obote, no Speaker. You can cry.
Information, Honourable Asman.
Very much, Honourable Sewungu. But, Mr. Speaker, the information I want to give is that actually this Parliament does not have a law to cater for former presidents, vice presidents, the speakers, no, outside the 1995 Constitution. When Parliament was considering the emoluments and benefits of leaders, it only envisaged those under the 1995 Constitution. That's why the minister is talking about the president directing ex gratia payments. So it's up to the goodwill of the president. That's why he determines that it is 1,300,000,000 just out of the goodwill. And that's why, right, Mr. Speaker, the late Waibale is outside that list. So it's outside the goodwill of the president. So the information I want to give is that actually there is no law that provides for former presidents, vice presidents, and speakers outside the 1995 Constitution. The 2010 law is very selective and exclusive. It's not inclusive.
As I conclude, I think, Honourable Ambassador, thank you for that. I was in this is where they buried the late of Milton Obote, Kakokoro. Sincerely, Mr. Speaker, when you get there, the graves are full of grass. And this is a man who nurtured the president who has been here for 30 years. But the place is so bad, they never even tarmacked the road, yet they were supposed to look after it. Look at yourself, Honourable Minister of Public Service. You are here. You are going to leave this place. Don't you have some payments after from your savings, and you will be enjoying after, even if you lose, even if you won? So look at that as a matter of concern, and don't just tell us about the president. The president, use your authority as a Minister of Public Service. You are not a mere minister. You are a Minister of Public Service. That's why you took an oath, and that's why you came to the Appointments Committee. Don't just wait for the president to tell you, ex gratia, now I will give you. If you don't, you want them to go and sing in front of the president. We love you so much. We are here for you. They sing a Catholic song. Then afterwards they give them their payments. We cannot accept that right now, Speaker. Let us fight this as members of Parliament. We pay these people. And heaven will see us getting at the right hand of the Father if at all we do this for these people. Other than coming here and telling us lies every day, and you continue using them to win votes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister, I think that it is time we address this issue comprehensively. When I look at this list, all the 5 presidents were violently removed. They had no time to end their tenure. Probably there were no terms for their settlement. But I think that it is now time for us to make a law for posterity. We shouldn't depend on ex gratia payments. Let's look at it comprehensively and address the leaders who have been here doing work for this country.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there are 2 issues. One, I've heard the minister reading the list, especially the former prime ministers, and others are given 300 million, others are given less. I don't know what was the criteria of giving others more and giving others less. Secondly, Madam Speaker, he has said that for the case of former President Idi Amin Dada, that the money was sent to Administrator General. I don't know whether the minister took time to find out whether it was distributed equally. And in any case, Madam Speaker, for us, Idi Amin, as a former president and a Muslim, had many spouses, as the religion allows. I don't know how the minister, when he was sending that money, or that was in his mind that the money he's sending is going to be shared by some spouses that were former first ladies. Madam Speaker, what we must really get to know from the minister, when Honorable Semuju brought up an issue of Sarah, of Medina Amin, that he is really living in a very, 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 very poor state, simply because the government is not looking after them. I talked to her just a while ago. They had houses in Kawempe constituency, Kawempe North, but up to now their houses were occupied. They have not been given to them, and in fact, they had even a presidential directive that let these houses go back to the family of late Idi Amin, and even the house of Kororo, and they have not done so. Madam Speaker, I would request through you that these, especially the spouses, because if the money is being sent not only to Idi Amin for Idi Amin, but even to others, how sure are the spouses that the spouses are catered for in as far as distribution of this money is concerned, Madam Speaker?
Okay. Minister, any closing remarks? Oh, no, Kefa.
Madam Speaker, as we talk about our former leaders, there is another group of leaders who are here and they did a lot of work for this country, and these are our former MPs. And okay, I was in AGM recently, the AGM of our pension fund. And some people were saying, some of the former MPs were saying that the pension they're getting is not even enough to pay their transport for them traveling here and back to where they were coming from. And I understand there's been a move to have that increased. I'm sure as they listen to us talking about paying the former leaders, they'll also be asking what is happening with the increment of their pension, Madam Speaker.
Okay, I think, Minister, please answer, and then we can conclude this issue.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'd like to appreciate the concerns from colleagues. On the issue of His Excellency the Vice President, he's catered for under the emoluments of the President, Vice President, and the Prime Minister's Act of 2010. On the issue of Alex Waivale and Joseph Ekemu, I'll cross-check and see if they were erroneously missed from the list presented. or if indeed they missed on the ex gratia. On the issue of properties,
information. I would like to let you know that Rugumayo is still alive. He was the Speaker of the National Consultative Council. So in case you have also left the name out, maybe you have to consider adding him on. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Honorable Cecilia. I will also check on that record. On the issue of properties of former leaders, I was very clear that our ministry is not authoritative enough, and I would request the Minister of Lands, Housing and the Urban Development to give a statement on that. And on the Honorable Seungu asked whether indeed the President will also get a one-off. That's the law, and the law is the Presidential Vice President and Prime Minister's Remuneration Act of 2010, and I can confirm he will also get his emoluments under that law. Honorable Sadwa, I agree with you that indeed we need to have a law because there is no clear law outside the 1995 Constitution to cater for these past leaders. But I also want to add that indeed the President went out of his way. He listened to the concerns and gave out that ex gratia payment in the absence of the law. Honorable Sevagala talked about the criteria of giving others and others being left out. And
clarification?
Thanks very much, Right Honorable Speaker and my colleague, the Minister, for giving way. But whatever we're talking here is put on record. So I expect my colleague, the Minister, when he's answering, to be clear of what he's answering. My question was, I am aware about the law that caters for the former vice presidents and prime minister. But I'm saying when he was the deputy speaker and speaker, why are you not mentioning it? Right Honorable Speaker, you were once a deputy speaker, and I expect you to get your emolument as a deputy speaker. Yes. So when if you are to set up a principle, it must be clear, and that's why I want you to be clear to us. Are you forgetting that because somebody was a former speaker or deputy speaker and now is the vice president, so he should forfeit the benefits of those chairs? Can you clarify on that?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I listened to the list that was read, but there are common names I didn't speak. I am happy the Honorable Cecilia has raised one of the former speakers from our area, but I didn't hear the Right Honorable Nsibambi on the list as a former Prime Minister, the former Vice President, His Excellency of Kenya. We would be happy to know if they are catered for otherwise, or it is one comprehensive list that was read. Thank you.
Please conclude, Madam Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. On the issue of Honorable Baba Sagaba, this was clear that we said, for example, the late Professor Apollo Nsibambi was catered for under the 2000, the Remuneration of Presidents, Vice Presidents, and Prime Ministers Act of 2010. that is a law which stands or caters for such a categories. Honorable Sebagala asked why are others getting small or little and others are getting more. Well, when you are giving these payments, of course, it is commensurate with the office. The president got 1 billion, and the speakers, the vice presidents got 400, the speakers got 350, and that was the wisdom of the office bearers by that time. Whether it was distributed equally, I think this can be, the authority here is the Office of the Administrator General, but I don't dispute the capacity of the Administrator General because this is an area which they handle best. Honorable Kefa talked about the parliamentary the former MPs. I think that one falls under the jurisdiction of the Parliamentary Commission, and it is within our hands as Parliament. The last one is Honorable Baka insisting that we have former, for example, the Vice President and you, Right Honorable Speaker. I think you are also catered for under the emoluments of the President, Vice President, and Prime Minister's Act 2010. I beg submit.
Okay, honourable members, consequent upon the response by the Minister of Public Service, we want to direct that the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development comes and updates us on the issue of plot number 10, Prince Charles Drive, Kololo, the home of the late President Idi Amin Dada, and the properties in Kawempe belonging to the same family. Let's do that on Thursday after Easter. Thank you. Now, honour members, as I was sitting here, received some sad news about a friend who has died. The Honourable Paul Koinange, Member of Parliament for Kiamba constituency in Kenya, is the chairperson of the Kenya Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast, who succumbed to the coronavirus yesterday in Nairobi. Would like to send our condolences as the Uganda Parliament and the Uganda Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast Fellowship, and to say that we remember him because he greatly inspired us in his work towards peace, unity, and stability for the Republic of Kenya. And we were witnesses to his work as he served as the chairperson of the Kenya National Prayer Breakfast, as well as the Kenya National Assembly, Department Committee on Administration, National Security, and other parliamentary committees. We send our condolences to his family, his friends, the relatives, his in-laws, the constituents in Kiamba, the well-wishers, and the National Assembly of Kenya and the people of Kenya. Let me invite members to stand up for 1 minute of silence in his honor.
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Item 5.
Item 5 on the order paper, laying of papers, 5.1.
Minister of Local Government.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the Local Government Finance Commission Annual Performance Report 2019-2020.
Members, send to the Committee of Public Service and Local Government for perusal and report back.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the Local Government Finance Commission Annual Performance Report 2018-2019. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay Local Government Finance Commission Annual Performance Report 2017-2018. I beg to lay, Right Honorable Speaker.
Okay, Honourable Member said they are sent to the Committee of Public Service and Local Government for peruse and report back. Now, Honourable Member, sorry, in the beginning we did not inform you about the death of another enterprising Ugandan, the late Haji Moses Katongole, who was very, very key in the transport in this country under Utoda. He made a big contribution. He also died of coronavirus the day before yesterday. We invite you again to stand up for 1 minute of silence.
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Item 5.2. Okay.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the Condolences Fund for the year ended 30th June 2019. Contingencies Fund, sorry.
Sent to the Committee of Public Accounts, Commission Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises.
5.3.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay a report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the Contingencies Fund for the year ended 30th June 2019. I beg to lay a report of the Auditor General on the financial statement, National Population Council for the year ended 30th June 2020. Auditor General on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation UBC for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Property Holdings Limited for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Tourism Board for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Nile Hotel International Limited for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Departed Asians Property Custodian Board for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Industrial Research Institute for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the Contingencies Fund for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Revenue Authority Revenue Collection Account for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation for the year ended 30th June 2020. A report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives for the year ended 30th June 2020. Report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities for the year ended 30th June 2020. The report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development for the year ended 30th June 2020. And the report of the Auditor General on the consolidated financial statements of the Government of the Republic of Uganda for the year ended 30th June 2020. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay.
The reports from item 5.3, 1 to 10 will be sent to the Committee of Public Accounts, Commission Statutories and State Enterprises for perusal and report back. The items from item 5.3, 11 to 14 will go to the Public Accounts Committee, Central Government. The report of the Auditor General on the financial statements, consolidated financial statements of the government will similarly go to the Public Accounts Committee, Central Government. Thank you very much. Item 6.
Item
Yes.
5.
What rule? No.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you for first allowing me to come and produce my procedural point here. And before I mention the rule, I would like to first remind the House that 3 weeks ago, I stood here and asked a simple question to the Minister of State for Finance, but today I see the Minister is here and the technical bench is also full. And I informed the House that in this running year, 2020-2021, Parliament passed a budget that included an allocation to the Ministry of Works of 47 billion shillings to buy road equipment for 15 districts, among which is Kasanda, Rwampara, Bogweri, Nabiratuk, Chikube, among others. And to date, the money has not been released to the Ministry of Works, despite the fact that the procurement processes have been completed. Madam Speaker, have been signed, the contracts have been signed, but the money has not been availed. Madam Speaker, today we are privileged to see the Honorable Kasaija, who we haven't seen for a long time. And members agree, we usually have Honorable Bahati. At that time, Honorable Bahati said he didn't have information. But today the Honorable Kasaija is here, and I see one of the senior people is available on the technical bench. So I was wondering and asking Madam Speaker whether we are proceeding well. When I look at the order paper, the issue is not there, but the people concerned are all here, and then we proceed to discuss other business if the Minister had promised us to come back the next day. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
No, members, let us go to item 5.5. Then after we can handle that issue of the money you're talking about.
Item 5.5 on the order paper.
Minister of Finance, we shall not allow him to run.
Madam Speaker, according to the order paper in front of me, I see item 6. I don't see item 5. So can I assume that I go to what is marked here as item 6, Madam Speaker? I'm seeking your guidance.
We are inviting you to deal with the Section 13 of the Public Finance Management Act.
So the documents have been mixed up. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I want to lay on the floor of Parliament the draft estimates book for financial year 21-22, volume number 1, central government votes, volume number 2, local government votes, volume number 3, state-owned enterprises and public corporations, and volume number 4, program estimates. I beg to lay, Madam. Can I proceed?
It's a long list. There are more than 15 items.
I wish to lay before Parliament the certificate of compliance of the budget for financial year 2020-21 with the National Development Plan. It's here. Madam Speaker, I wish to lay before the floor of Parliament the list of accounting officers for year 2021-2022. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I wish to lay before Parliament statement of tax expenditure of government for financial year 2021-2022. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I want to lay on the floor of Parliament budgets for self-accounting departments, commissions and organizations set up under the Constitution and the opinion of government on these budgets. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I wish to lay on the table of this Parliament a statement of multi-year commitments of government for financial 2021, 2022, 2025, 2026. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I wish to lay on the floor of this Parliament a statement on the budget by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, attesting to the reliability and the completeness of the budget. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I wish to lay on the floor of this Parliament a certificate of gender and equity compliance of the budget for financial 21-22. Madam Speaker, I wish to lay plans for external financing of the budget, borrowing and grants. Madam Speaker, I want to lay on the floor of Parliament a plan of the guarantees to be issued in financial 2020-21. Madam Speaker, I wish to lay on the floor of Parliament half-year Government of Uganda Budget Performance Report for the financial year 2020-2021. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I wish to lay on the floor of Parliament the Treasury Memorandum. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I also want to lay money is recovered as a result of the recommendation of the report of the Auditor General. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I wish to lay on the floor of Parliament a performance of projects for financial year 2020-2021. And lastly, Madam Speaker and the colleagues, I wish to lay on the floor of this Parliament a plan for the investment of the government assets. I wish to lay.
Honourable members, earlier I had sent the appropriation bill to the Finance Committee inadvertently. I now withdraw it and send it to the Budget Committee. And all this that the Minister of Finance has laid will go to the Budget Committee for perusal and report back. However, I want to inform the Minister of Finance that what you call a Treasury Memorandum is only a status of the Treasury Memoranda. It is not the memorandum itself. So in the future, please bring the actual Treasury Memorandum. What you have is the status. Thank you.
Honourable Speaker, I watched the Minister reading all those his documents. I'd not seen him lay them, and probably this gentleman, these are the documents he's supplying. But I'd not seen him lay any document, he was just reading.
The documents, those are the heaps of documents which I've got. Minister, come and symbolically lay them.
Madam Speaker and colleagues, I beg on the table the documents that I have read and which are in my hands here. I beg it today.
Thank you. Now, Order Minister, concerning the issue of the road equipment, on 17th March, the Honorable Mr. Bahati had undertaken to work with the Minister of Works on this issue. I don't know that it has been done. The issue of the road equipment raised by Honorable Member for Bukuya.
Madam Speaker, as he comes to respond to it, maybe they respond together. Right, Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Finance should have also stated the Treasury Memorandum for which years. I didn't hear the years, so you should have stated because you left it open-ended. I know it's always for a financial year. Madam Speaker, related to this, Madam Speaker, we raised this matter 2 weeks ago. We passed a supplementary budget to the effect that for the financing of the cities. But up to today, Madam Speaker, the cities have not received the money. I can speak categorically for Soroti because I don't think others have received, and it's only Soroti. Madam Speaker, Honorable Bahati had promised to give a report on Tuesday this week, even when we asked him in the Committee of National Economy. But up to date, Madam Speaker, despite so many months since we passed the money for the cities cannot operate. The money has not been released to the cities. What is the problem? Where is the problem? And how do you expect these cities to operate? Secondly, it was the issue of the law for the operations of the cities. But the more serious one is the issue why the money that we passed in the supplementary schedule that you presented here has not reached the cities.
You can see, Minister, how popular you are.
Further, Right Honourable Speaker, now that the Minister of Finance is here, maybe could also clarify to us the progress made towards paying the South Sudan grain traders. The Parliament passed a resolution, Parliament passed supplementary budget for the payment of 10 companies and additional 23 companies. Can we be also updated about the progress made towards the payment of the South Sudan grain traders? Thank you.
Were they grain traders or just traders?
Madam Speaker, will respond to one issue, then the Honourable Minister will respond to others. The issue I want to respond to is the load equipment for Kasanda, for 15 districts. They were budgeted for in financial year 2019-20. They were budgeted for 2019-20. And because of the difficulties all of us know of COVID, of revenue, we did not raise the money to finance that activity. In 2021, we did not budget for them. So it's an issue that we are going to discuss with the Ministry of Works and see how to finance this expenditure in the following years. Thank you. Okay.
So, Honourable Minister, thank you so much for that response. Honourable Minister, you are aware that these districts were created in 2018, and you have been supplying money for roads. The road fund has been providing money for roads, and every other time, Honourable Minister, we are here requesting for these machines, road equipment. All districts, because we came to a point where the Right Honourable Speaker begged that the districts should borrow from nearby districts. But Right Honourable Speaker, when we tried that, it never worked because other districts are busy working with their machines. So, Right Honourable Speaker, you're left with these districts. They were created. And one of the immediate impact of any new district that can be created is people to see that they are passing in good roads. The Honourable Minister is here. 2018 money was provided, 2018, 2019. That money never, they were never procured. We are in 2020, 2021, Right Honourable Speaker. And the Minister of Works keeps telling us that, you know, we've already made the order for these machines. And every other time we keep telling people that the machines are coming soon. Right Honourable Speaker, I want the Minister to clarify on how they expect, or how they expect these districts to operate without road equipment.
Further clarification. Right Honourable Speaker.
That's the last one.
The last one. I want to thank the Minister, but I think we should avoid using COVID as a scapegoat for failure of government performance in some budgeted areas. First of all, Honourable Speaker, a number of things were halted, including travels, and you remember even me, I took back there 20 million for the one you had gave me to go indicator for my constituency for that. So many activities stalled, even your vehicles in the ministry. Honourable Minister Kasaija, we are not moving. So you cannot come here and tell us that because of COVID you do not release money for this particular activity. There are a lot of activities that never took place. Where did that money go to? Have catered for those? And where do you put priority? Do you put it on other areas? Already you can tell me you are bringing 95 members of parliament. 90 new members, meaning that you have money. You cannot give an excuse for this particular event because there was no money. Money is there, and that's what you have always claimed. So let us not mislead people. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Madam Speaker, just one point. Madam Speaker, I beg to disagree with the Honourable Bahati. I usually come here with my facts. I rarely come to talk on the microphone. This running financial year, we approved that. We can consult the Honourable Golobi. We can consult the Honourable Secretary, the respective chairs. The money was approved. We've been following it for 2020, 2021. And they followed with Minister of Works. They even looked at the IPFs. They proceeded with the procurement process. They stopped at signing contracts. And Minister of Finance has refused to release that money. It is not 2019, 2020. Madam Speaker, we can give it time and we check in the records and we see whether Honorable Bahati is not telling lies. And he's supposed to be a good Christian. Madam Speaker, I beg to submit.
Madam Speaker, the information we have, unless the Honorable Chair of Harris is referring to another treasury, but the Treasury of Uganda did not capture that one in this financial year, but we can cross-check those figures. And actually the reason why they said we are not going forward to procure is because there is no money in the budget. If there was money in the budget, you don't have to first release it to be able to procure. So that's the reason. But the fact is, according from our records, that money was not appropriated for 2021.
Okay, honourable members, I think we should ask our budget office to check the records.
Yes.
And when we resume after Easter, we'll table them. Okay, item 6.
Item 6 on the
Oh,
order.
money for the cities. Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I've just received information that the money for the cities has just been released in this quarter. You know, we've started a new quarter now. We release the money quarterly. So the cities have been lucky that the fourth quarter, which is we started today, the money has been released. The reason why this money
What's the point of order?
Right Honourable Speaker, I'm at pain raising a point of order against the senior minister and the colleague. Right Honourable Speaker, we know that these ministers are put in the ministries to oversee all the activities taking place in the ministry in the interest of Ugandans. Here we are, we have been asking for this money for almost from this December. And generally, as usual, the minister has appeared once in a while and he might take another 3 months without appearing, based on his own decisions. But here we are asking a very pertinent issue, and the minister is saying that he's just receiving information right now. However, while I was watching him, he has not got any paper from somewhere. He has not looked at his phone. Is he really in order to tell this house a misleading information? How he has got money, yet today is a Fool's Day.
No.
Yes, because Madam Speaker, cameras can bear me out. The minister is seated there. Nobody has come to him. He has not got anything in the house. But he says he has just got information. And he's not narrating who has given him that information. Is it in order for a senior minister on a Fool's Day like this one to mislead this house?
Members,
he might be forgetting the time.
The Fool's Day ends at midday. And I think the minister has the capacity to get the information.
Madam Speaker, I thought the essence is that the money is available. But I've been informed, Honorable here, I've got another. Now, one other point that I would like to...
Allow the minister.
Why don't you allow me to make my statement?
No, on the issue of cities, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we approved the cities. And several cities came up and they were approved. But when it came to sending money to the cities, Madam Speaker, we don't know the criteria under which money was sent to the different cities. Other cities are receiving meager amount of money, and others are receiving so much money, Madam Speaker. A case in point is a Lira city receiving all about 14 compared to Gulo. Madam Speaker, through you, I want to know from the minister, what criteria did the ministry use to allocate money to the upcoming cities? Thank you.
Madam Speaker, on that question, there are various parameters that when we are budgeting, and indeed most of these budgets they originate from the spending agencies, Madam Speaker. But I will go back next week when I come back here to tell you why city so and so, we have given them this money, and city so has been given that money. No, I will come back. Let me come back next week.
Okay.
Now, let me make a point here, colleagues, so that when we are talking about money and releasing money, you do understand me. We operate a cash budget. I faced a very hard time in one of the committees here. Kashaija, you come here, you ask us for supplementary, we pass them, but then you do not release the money 1-2 months before, after. Now, I operate a cash budget. I cannot send air. So if the Treasury, either because of tax collections, if the money coming from the tax revenue people is not sufficient, or I have not effected a borrowing, then I can't release. But as soon as I release, the money is in the budget, is in the kitty, we definitely release the money. So I thought I should make this point so that we do not really misunderstand each other. If we delay to release the money, it is not because we want to really make anybody frustrated. It's simply because at times the Treasury does not have that money. So we wait either to get money from the Revenue Authority people, or if there is a borrowing, that borrowing has come in, then we release the money.
Honourable members, let us go to the item 6. Let's go to item 6.
Item 6 on the order paper, bills second reading, the Employment Amendment Bill 2019.
Honourable Kunhira.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable members, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Employment Amendment Bill 2019 be read for the second time.
Is the motion seconded? Is the motion seconded? Seconded. Justified.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker and honourable members, the bill that is before you today has the objectives that include, among others, provide for regulation of domestic workers and casual workers, provide for recruitment of migrant workers, among others. Madam Speaker, this bill considers categories of workers whose rights and working conditions are not expressly recognized and provided for in the Act. And these include domestic workers, casual workers, and other rights for the members. Madam Speaker, most employers in the private sector have resorted to casualization of labor, and because Ugandans are desperate, they have continuously worked for many years, but working as casuals where they lose out on everything. Madam Speaker, the bill also provides for protection of breastfeeding working mothers. The government has put a lot of efforts to promote nutrition and care, and it has put in place a policy on infant and young child feeding by the Ministry of Health. But the working mothers find it difficult to breastfeed exclusively because they are only entitled 60 working days. That means they have to leave their children back, to go back and start work. Madam Speaker, I would like to request that the House considers this bill. There are other small issues I'm sure the House is going to meet. I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Can we hear a report from the committee? What rule, really?
I tried looking at the committee report on the iPad a while ago, and right on speaker, it was not uploaded. I want the chair to confirm before he reads that it has been uploaded.
Proceed with the report.
Right on speaker and on members, I beg to present the reports of the Committee on Gender, Labour and Social Development on the Employment Amendment Bill 2019. The Employment Amendment Bill 2019, herein referred to as the bill, was read for the first time on the 3rd December 2019 and referred to the Committee on Gender, Labour and Social Development for consideration in accordance with Rule 128 of Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The Committee considered the bill through consultation with stakeholders. Hence, this report. The Employment Act of 2006 and the legal regime in Uganda pertaining to labor, while progressive, did not cover several challenges in the fast-moving world, including the regulation of employment of domestic workers and migrant workers abroad, as well as the protection of the labor rights of breastfeeding mothers. The new bill, therefore, seeks to improve on the current labor laws and take into consideration, among others, the above changes in the socio-economic system governing labor rights in the country. Policy and principles of the bill. The object of the bill is to amend the Employment Act of 2006 to operationalize the provisions of Article 40 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda to all categories of workers in Uganda, specifically making provisions for the regulation of employment of domestic workers in Uganda, to provide for an explicit formula for calculation of severance pay, to provide for the recruitment and employment of Ugandan migrant workers abroad, to provide for the protection of working breastfeeding mothers, to require employers to put in place policies and facilities for breastfeeding mothers, to prohibit employment of persons as casual workers for more than 3 months with the same employer and provide for conversion of casual employment. Mr. Lord, the committee held consultative meetings and received written submissions from several stakeholders.
You can leave that one. They can read. Members can read that. Go to your general observations.
Okay, fine. General observations on page 3. Regarding general observations, we try to examine the extent to which this bill complies with the provisions of the Constitution. Also, we try to determine the extent to which the bill aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals and gender and equity. In our analysis, we note that this bill seeks to operationalize Article 40 of the Constitution and hence the promotion of rights of workers in this country. Therefore, it is in our considered opinion that this bill is in compliance with the provisions of the Constitution. We reviewed the bill and also noted that it complies with the provisions of Sustainable Development Goals. Page 4, we reviewed the bill and came to a conclusion that it complies with the principles of gender equity, especially the requirement for the protection of breastfeeding mothers. Right on, Speaker, may I come with specific observations? Page 4. On domestic workers, the committee observed that domestic work in general is one of the most common and traditional forms of work in Africa generally, and Uganda in particular, employing all categories of people, most of whom are young persons. However, the rights of domestic workers are not fully protected under the current labor laws. Therefore, this bill seeks to ensure that these rights are protected. Our specific recommendations are that the Employment Act be amended to protect and promote the rights of domestic workers in this country. We are also recommending that the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development should enact regulations to operationalize the provisions on domestic workers as indicated in the Employment Amendment Bill. On page 5, we emphasize the requirements for protection of breastfeeding mothers to be incorporated in this bill. And also for the Ministry of Gender to enact regulations on the implementation of the provisions on breastfeeding mothers. Madam Speaker, we consider the provision regarding casual workers. And note on page 6, as the Employment Act be amended to expressly provide for the rights of casual workers to transition to term employees, as well as the duration of their contracts as casual workers before their transition into term employees. Our last recommendation is in page 6. The committee recommends that the Employment Act is amended to comprehensively protect the rights of both foreign and migrant workers in Uganda and migrant workers abroad. Right on, Speaker. Before I lay the report on table, I would like to mention that our amendments are attached to this report. Detailed amendments are attached to this report. Second, I'm very happy to report that these amendments have been agreed on with the Minister responsible for labor, following very fruitful and cordial discussions. So, we and the executive are on the same page in regard to these amendments. On behalf of the committee and on my own behalf, I gladly press on record our appreciation to the Minister for the cooperation during the processing and consideration of this bill. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on table the following documents. Minutes of several meetings during the consideration of the bill. Submission by Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies. Submission by Federation of Uganda Employers. Submission by National Organization of Trade Unions. Submission to the committee by the Platform for Labor Action. Submission to the committee by Uganda Law Society. And this report, I beg to lay on table.
Members, you've heard the report. You're free to comment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House adopts the report together with the recommendations. I beg to move.
Okay. Your comments on the members? Minister, you're coming in now? I think you need to... No, it's not his bill. He cannot withdraw. Let's hear a few comments first. Honorable Kanyisa, Honorable Shave, Kainza Shave, Gonzaga, and Otieno. And Joy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, without a strong labor justice system, Uganda will not attain the aspirations of Vision 2040 and the Third National Development Plan. Amendment of the Employment Act, Madam Speaker, will also enable us as a country to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular Sustainable Development Goal 8. And my particular interest would be in Target 8.5, which says that by 2030, we need to achieve full and productive employment and decent work for all men and women, including the young people, persons with disabilities, and equal pay for work of equal value by 2030. So, Madam Speaker, I thank the committee for highlighting particularly protection of breastfeeding mothers. We welcome the initiative. These mothers should be, I thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the breastfeeding center. So organizations which can should put in place breastfeeding centers, but there are also options. We can also have daily hours, daily breaks, those for the mothers who want to breastfeed, or if not that's the case, they can also let mothers leave home, they leave for home early. This will enable them to breastfeed their children. And this one we request, of course, it has to be 3 months after the maternal, the annual leave, the official leave, maternity leave. These are additional hours to enable our babies catch up with the nutrition, as the minister had, as the chairperson had stated. Madam Speaker, on the issues of sexual harassment, when you read the report, of course, they've said people who, organizations are employing 25 people plus should be the ones to put in place these policies. But I think we also need to look at the numbers which are less than 25. How do we protect such persons? Because sexual harassment, and maybe on the issue of sexual harassment also, apart from the numbers, we should also extend it, not limit it to the premises of work, say this parliament building. It should also extend to the work of parliament, of an organization outside these premises. Say, sexual harassment, yes, it can take place during a workshop, during a field work. So the law should also cater for that. If that happened, if sexual harassment took place during work, say on a trip, on a training, on a social event, we should also have room for one to raise such a complaint. On the issues of migrant workers, we welcome the idea, of course, of licensing of the companies, the recruitment companies. But my concern is on the issue of repatriation. When some of our daughters, some of our sons get abroad, we find that it's the employers who are supposed to repatriate them. But there should be also, this should not be left to the companies alone. We should also open it up so that as organizations, or even government, we should also participate in repatriation of these employees of Uganda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honourable members, as we discuss, I think we should talk about the repatriation of the dead people who have gone to work there. So it's a problem. They come to our offices looking for how they can bring their bodies back. Honorable Shabe, Gonzaga, then Otieno, and close the Joy Ngom.
Right, Honourable Speaker, thank you so much. I want to begin by thanking the mover of the bill. Honourable Kunihira, thank you so much, because you have picked out the key matters that concern our workforce in the country. Thank you for representing them very well. Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the at least approved much of the amendments. Right, Honourable Speaker, as a member of Parliament, one time we visited one of the companies, Tembo Steels, and what the environment and in which these people work, the casual laborers, we found them working. It was very terrible. Many of them had burnt hands, they had burnt legs. Many of them were in a very terrible situation. And right, Honourable Speaker, this is a time when we are attracting as many investors as possible in the country. I think this law comes at an appropriate time to ensure that as the investors come, they want these casual laborers to work with them. Right, Honourable Speaker, it is our duty to protect these people. And once we have a law, and these employers follow this law, Right, Honourable Speaker, will achieve both the desired jobs, but also having decent jobs at the end of it all. Otherwise, Right, Honourable Speaker, the casual laborers are overworked. They go to work at 6 a.m. They're supposed to have reported at 6 a.m. and they leave at 8 p.m. So when we ask the minister and the minister in the law that their rights must be protected, and by amending this act, I think we'll have done a great service, Right, Honourable Speaker, to this Parliament, because we normally see them, they go to work and they earn very little. I interacted with some of them and they tell you we earn 4,000, they earn 5,000 a day, and that's what they are paid. Right, Honourable Speaker, if the ministry picks interest and ensures that, yes, as you employ our workers, we agree we want the jobs, but they must be decent jobs, and the rights of our people must be respected. Right, Honourable Speaker, I thank you for the issue of repatriation of the dead. But Right, Honourable Speaker, so many times we've heard on the floor of Parliament, in terms of the migrant workers, we've had situations where members of Parliament are coming to the Parliament asking the Minister of Foreign Affairs for people who they even don't know where they are. Right, Honourable Speaker, we have companies here that recruit and they just send off our people. They've no contract with the person they are sending the workers to. At the end of the day, our children are maimed, they are killed, they face so many challenges. But if we insist that you who is recruiting this worker, you must take responsibility, I think very many people will be happy to go and probably earn $1, but also ensure that they are not inhumanly treated. Thank you very much, Right, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Gonzaga, Joy Ngoma, and then we have Honourable Otieno. Those switch side and I come there.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I want to thank the chair, the committee, plus the mover of the bill, Honourable Kunihira, for bringing this good bill. Honourable Speaker, I am supporting this bill very much, and let me look at the report with some areas. However, I would pray that the committee members, you left out a lot of things that you would have told us. For example, when you talk about domestic workers, as you've stated here, Right, Honourable Speaker, number one, that is, a lot is lacking. What do we have to do about these workers at home? Should we put, do they have to sign a contract? All those areas were not catered for, and they are very key to give good attention to these people. Even when it comes to their savings, can they save? We want to see all that. I think, but Honourable Speaker, we shall meet that at the committee stage. But let me go to breastfeeding mothers. Honourable Speaker, I am not in agreement with the committee that mothers should be given only the first 3 months. Actually, honourable members and Madam Kunihira, you were mother. You know what happens in the first and second month. The first month, the child can refuse to breastfeed. Then the second month, she gets used. Then the third month, I myself, I breastfed for 3 years. I did. That's how, and breastfeeding has a number of advantages. That's why I don't become sick. My mother also spaced us by 3 years, because breastfeeding stops mothers from getting pregnancy very fast as long as breastfeed. As long as the person has finished her leave and she has come back for work, let her breastfeed. You cannot tell me that my wife will be stopped from breastfeeding after the consecutive 3 months after birth when she has done for work. She wants to breastfeed for 2 years. Let her do it. It's her right. These are the advantages we have in Africa. In Europe, people breastfeed their children on bottles and all that. Breastfeeding brings intelligence in the child. She can become bright. So you can tell him that, no, the first 3 months, I think that one is not okay. Right, Honorable Speaker, when you go to casual laborers, migrants, I think we have to pay a lot of attention, which was not given by the committee, Mr. Chairman of the committee. These companies taking out Ugandans, they are not signing very good agreements with these people. As soon as they get where they have gone, in case they find problems there, things are very difficult for Ugandans to come back and all that. But when they have spent money paying the companies. So we need to look at that. Lastly, right, Honorable Speaker, casual laborers, I think we must put in place short-term contracts as they work. Casual laborers do more work than anybody in any company if you take interest in them. They do the dog work, the donkey work, they're left there. Lastly, I would pray that the minister has to tell us why they have failed to put in place regulations. Regulations are very key in any act as long as they are necessary. And once regulations are not in place, that's why we come with all these problems that we are coming to amend these laws. Honorable Kuntana, senior as you are, could you tell this House, when you come to address the House, why there are no regulations against all this that will solve some of these problems that are bringing amendments that are also becoming necessary at this time? Thank you, Honorable Speaker. But you cannot tell me that you will not breastfeed your child for 2 years and you give 3 months? Not fair. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
No, but the proposal by Honorable Kainsa was that after the maternity leave, there should be additional time. That was her position.
You see, once you say at least 3 months, the employers will take that. Now you finish the 3 months, and it is common. Some parents don't breastfeed. But when we get to committee stage, Honorable Speaker, I will give in my input. It should remain open. We want children to breastfeed other than feeding on bottles. And Madam Speaker, for that matter, what you have said, many workers leave children, stop breastfeeding their children because of this problem. They feed them for 1 month, they say, now my boss, they will see me out of class, now I'm going to breastfeed.
That is why Honorable Kunhi has proposed daycare centers at the place of employment. That's why she has proposed that.
Most obliged.
Yes.
Thank you,
Honorable
Speaker.
Joyongom. Okay.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to stand here to support the bill. Right Honorable Speaker, may I start on the note of the breastfeeding centers. I remember when Parliament proposed and we put in place the breastfeeding center, the country criticized us. We were surely blamed. But I think now they get to understand the need for having a breastfeeding center, Madam Speaker. Our children, most especially the young ones, have suffered in the hands of the maids at home. The men here will agree that our children have suffered. Maids are stepping on them. Maids are squeezing them. Others are being killed. You know, we leave the children at the mercy of the maids at home, and the rights of the children are truly violated. So I agree with the committee and as well as the bill that really breastfeeding centers needed to be there. And if this law be assented to, Madam Speaker, it has to really happen. I want to appreciate National Medical Stores. I think it was last week, Madam Speaker, that we went to visit a new center that they are trying to construct. They put a very big place, very, very large, where children of about a year, 2 to 3 years can play. When they come from the nursery school, they can play from there waiting for their mothers, and then they are taken back home instead of being left in the hands of the maids. Madam Speaker, on the issue of casual workers, when we talk of casual workers, Madam Speaker, we have to see the domestic, but also can we consider these ones who are in the construction sites, Madam Speaker, that one constitutes a great majority. They don't have papers, they're not well qualified, but they're the ones who do the donkey work. The risky jobs of maybe nailing and woodwork and the rest of it are put in their hands. I fell a victim, Madam Speaker. One of the boys that I took care of died from Kololo here. And the gap that we have in the law, it's in the Workman's Compensation Act. Madam Speaker, it only talks and stops in the injury, maybe severe injury, but when it comes to death, there is nothing that the law talks of. So I feel, as we discuss about this, let's consider to put a provision where when a casual worker dies at the place of work in the event of death, what happens? Not only that, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to put to Ugandans and the world at large that when we bring a casual worker, especially at domestic level, can we see how we can treat them as part and parcel of our families? Sometimes other families are getting problems with the domestic workers because they treat them as separate people and separate entity. They cook for us, they clean our houses, but when it comes to eating, they are taken as separate and second-hand people. The moment you treat them as part and parcel of your family, that is when they take to be really accepted in that family, and they treat your people and your children well. So I want to support that. And the issue of repatriation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, yes, our children are taken abroad, and these people don't really take care of the issue of bringing them back in the event of death. I feel that when the exporters are given opportunity to register, component of following up should also be tasked on them, and component of repatriating the bodies should also be part of the agreement. And on sexual harassment, Madam Speaker, at workplaces, nobody will deny that there is no sexual harassment at workplaces. Many of our girls have now come to understand that issue of carpet interview is no more, and they don't want. But people at workplaces are still harassing our girls, and even the boys are being harassed as well. Madam, issue of sexual harassment cost one of our honorable member of parliament his position, where he was negotiating money to do away with what happened in the other hotel of Aya. But up to tomorrow, I don't know whether the lady got justice, Madam Speaker. So we are saying we support the position of the committee on the issue of sexual harassment, that it should be amended to protect our girls and boys at workplaces. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable Tieno, then Honorable Kiwanuka Kefa.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I also wish to thank Honourable Kunira for this bill, and then the committee for the report. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to speak on basically two things. One is the migrant workers. I want to acknowledge two things. That the migrant workers, there are those who go out and there are those who are working inside the country. And I agree with the committee that there is need to regulate them. But Madam Speaker, what we need to know is that those who go out are going out to solve shortage of manpower in those countries. But we have got a scenario here, Right Honourable Speaker, where you've got these investors coming in here, but they also sneak in migrant workers when actually we do not have a gap. We don't have a manpower gap. Right Honourable Speaker, in Tororo we have got a scenario. We have got so many cement factories, but they are not employing anybody. Even if you went around and asked how many of the children of Tororo are being employed in these cement factories, Right Honourable Speaker, you'll be surprised and shocked that we are not having any child. Most of our people, they are not being employed in these factories. Yet we have around 3 now. In the past, we used to have only one cement factory, but most of our people would go and work in that one factory. So, right now, Speaker, what I'm thinking in this bill, what we should do is that where there is no gap, like in Uganda here, we don't have a manpower shortage. What I would expect that we try as much as possible to regulate in a way that we discourage these migrant workers from coming to compete with Ugandans who are already suffering from high levels of unemployment. When it comes to casual workers, I also want to implore the committee to consider looking at two scenarios. There are casual workers who are more or less on a permanent basis, and then there are casual workers who are on a temporary basis. A case in point, right, Mr. Speaker, there are most of these factories that employ Ugandans on permanently casual basis. And that's how, right, Mr. Speaker, you remember when some Ugandans, when there was a mattress factory which caught fire in Ntinda, most of the people, unfortunately, who perished in that accident were from our place. They were from Tororo. But when they died, the unfortunate thing was the factory simply said, these are not our workers, simply because they were on casual basis. So we need to regulate that kind of employment modality so that once workers are there on a permanent basis, we should put a time frame within which they should automatically transit into being permanent workers. But right now, Speaker, there is also this category of workers, casual workers, who are on a temporary basis. Imagine somebody is building a kitchen, and he needs to employ these casual workers for just some 4 or 5 days. How do we treat those kind of workers, especially these ones who work in construction sites? These are casual workers, but they are more or less on a temporary basis. So, right now, Speaker, I would implore the committee that as we put measures, I've not seen the real measure, the real recommendations, proposals, but I would implore that as we look at this, we try to create a separation, a distinction between the two, the casual on temporary and the casual on permanent, so that we basically focus on the casual on permanent. These ones are working in factories, but they are perpetually kept as casual workers. I think that's where our effort should be. We should not disadvantage these ones who are working on a few days. Construction just takes like 1 month, and you look for another job. So if we put this, we may find it that we discourage and disadvantage these fellows. And that's the same point I want to take to these ones of domestic workers. I have seen the committee somewhere saying household workers and domestic. I don't know whether the two mean the same thing. In some areas they say household workers, and in others they say domestic workers. So right now, my point is, whenever we come up with such a legislation, we should also look at the effect. What is going to be the effect? Supposing, because right now, I know there is some good relations, people are getting engagement. Suppose we come up and say, for you to keep somebody in your home, you must issue employment contract and so on. Suppose people turn down that, for me now, I would rather take my children to a daycare center, I lock my home. Are we not going to create more problems by making life difficult? So sometimes when we are legislating, we should also be very mindful of the likely impact or the likely outcome of the proposals that we make in the legislation. Because we should not come up with legislation, it may look good, but it may have a negative impact overall on the economy and also on the people we tend to safeguard. Thank you. I submit.
Now, Chwanuka, then Pachuto.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I like very much to build on Honorable Thieno's submission that these are very good suggestions, but they are double-edged. They can either work very positively or they can be detrimental to the economy if not properly handled. But overall, I like to very much thank Honorable Kunihira for having brought this up. Now, specifically on the domestic workers, apart from the mention that their rights are not fully protected and that they're a bit missing here and there, I think the report does not help to give us the actual issues that we are trying to address. And it's these issues that actually should lead us into the legislation that is required. Now, we know from research available that domestic workers suffer abuse, intimidation, threats, bullying, they suffer sexual assault, being provided with poor quality food, they're often denied privacy, and these are the issues that we need to think about. But of course, very carefully, in order not to deter them, first of all, from being employed, but also, on the other hand, not to make it difficult for them if they're employed. For instance, being required to pay tax. Now, on the other issue of breastfeeding, it's a very good idea, which I very strongly support. And we know from research that where breastfeeding is provided, it enables the breastfeeding mother to combine breastfeeding with work, reduces absenteeism, increases job satisfaction, and with increased job satisfaction and organizational commitment, then we have increased productivity, which is great for the organization. But again, it's something that has to be handled carefully. Now, on the casual workers, of course, there are many issues here. I don't think the report clearly brings out these issues. It's very important to bear in mind that according to research, most of the casual workers are women, and that they are paid less, excluded from work. And these are the issues that we need to be thinking about as we think about legislation around this area. And finally, just once again to emphasize that as we get into the committee stage, we have to be very, very careful not to drive the people being employed into some sort of black market where they are not actually recognized, where even those employing them are doing it stealthily to avoid probably either being caught up by the law or whatever may be there, which may be a bit inflexible. So I think we require a lot of flexibility and very, very, very careful consideration of how this is handled. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Now, Pachuto, and then the Minister of Agenda. Is it on? Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I want to thank the Honourable Agnes Kunihira for bringing this bill and the committee. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to touch on the issue of recruitment agencies. I want to implore this House not only to focus on the external recruitment agencies. We also do have companies within the country here that I would say are duping our people. You find company A is a substantive company that needs to recruit or is the one requiring to employ, but uses company B to recruit our people, and you find that company B does not even give appointment letters to our people. They do not give even identity cards to our people. So in the end, government of Uganda and even the individuals who are employed are losing in terms of social security. I would implore the minister to take up that very seriously, so that as we are trying to create a conducive employment process and employment conditions, we shouldn't be losing revenue for the individual and for the country. And then, Right Honourable Speaker, I wanted to comment on the issue of breastfeeding. To me, this is a very welcome idea. This is the first place where I have worked that I've seen that provision has been made for mothers to have time to breastfeed their children within the workplace. I remember I gave an example of myself here, how my own child refused to breastfeed when he was just going to make five months. I tried in vain because I would go to work in the field, and I couldn't breastfeed him in time. In the end, he rejected the breast milk and grew up totally on the bottle milk. But, Madam Speaker, my concern is about the common woman. Most of the women, the vendors around the country are women. Madam Speaker, if you go to Pakwach main market, you'll find women have made some kind of bed under their stalls. You'll find women along the road selling fish with children on their back, or actually trying to make some kind of bed. And moreover, we have allowed road vending without shelters. Imagine now it is the rainy season. So really, as we think of breastfeeding centers, in the formal employment places, we must think of markets, and we must think of other markets like the roads that we have in this country. And I want to totally on. I thank you. Okay. Ona Mutonyi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
For the opportunity of giving me to speak on this very important subject.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Where is the echo?
I'm hearing echoes. I don't know. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stood up on the information to my colleague Jane, but since I had been standing here, Madam Speaker, and you are not seeing me, let me give some information.
I saw you, but I wanted that to finish.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I wanted to inform the House, or maybe remind the House, that what Honorable Jane was talking about, our companies duping our Ugandans, it's not only in Uganda here. We have two categories of labor exporters. There are companies which are officially registered by Ministry of Gender. Then we have the pseudo companies that take our people outside and they abandon them there and they have no one to report to. So we have two categories, and but I suppose that if we streamline and have these ones going out officially through companies which are registered, those people should be attached to our embassies wherever they are going. But what is there now is that the embassies don't even know them. They are not even aware. And yet, if they were to make lists through Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then our embassies are aware of our people going there, and they know where exactly they have been placed, then it would be better for the embassies to follow them up. But the outcry you hear here is the embassies are not caring. The embassies, our people are suffering. But they are not aware. Right from the initial stage, the companies never send their lists, or even Ministry of Culture, they don't send the lists to the embassies in the countries where the workers are going. So I would like to have this streamlined in our bill, that people being exported or our migrant workers going out of the country should be connected to our embassies, so that in case of any eventualities, any other problems, the embassies can also take up the matters and maybe protect them, or also handle whatever circumstances that our workers are in. Otherwise, there are those that just go on their own. It is difficult to follow them up. But those that are taken by registered companies, those should be officially reported to the embassies, so that embassies can take it up. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. As I invite the Minister, on the question of the markets, I just want to remind the government that this House resolved on the issue of the markets, that there must be a daycare center, especially the new markets. And I'm glad the Minister of Local Government is here. But now I think we need to think about the street, the women on the street with their children under this umbrella, where there's no formal market. Yes, I don't know if they have anything to say, Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, all the markets that we are building, especially in the municipalities and cities now, a daycare center is a must. But we shall gladly take in the advice to cater for the street vendors.
Can I invite the Minister of Gender? You wanted to speak?
Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I want to thank the sponsor of this bill, the Honorable Kunihira, for the immense efforts she has put in preparing this bill. Madam Speaker, amendments of laws must be guided by the existence of gaps in the existing law. However, we have noted, as we shall be pointing out at committee stage, that some provisions of this bill do not fill any gap. As we will note at committee stage, some of the proposed amendments are a duplication of regulations already issued by the Minister in accordance with the authority granted by Parliament under the Employment Act 2006. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, the fact that the provisions from these regulations were lifted from the bill is testimony that the Minister properly exercises the powers delegated by Parliament under the Employment Act. It is therefore, in our view, for some provisions of this bill not to be accommodated, as we shall be pointing out. The above notwithstanding, I wish to state that we had an opportunity to hold cordial and constructive discussions with the committee and the sponsor of the bill. Consequently, we were able to arrive at a harmonized position on most, but not all, of the provisions of the bill. Honorable Speaker, before I take leave of this matter, I wish to inform you and the House that prior to the publication of this bill, the Ministry had already submitted to Cabinet principles to amend the Employment Act in a holistic manner. These principles will be considered by Cabinet soon. While the most ideal would have been to consolidate this bill with what is before Cabinet, the committee didn't feel it was proper, hence coming up with this bill. We want to put it on record that at an opportune time, we shall table before Parliament a bill addressing all the gaps not captured by this bill we are going to consider today. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the honorable colleagues for their pertinent observations and additions and contributions on the bill. Some of the colleagues raised some few issues which I want to respond to. The Honorable Sewungu was wondering why, even with my big experience, we don't have regulations to the Employment Act and the externalization of law processes. I want to inform this House and Honorable Sewungu that the Employment Act has regulations, actually two sets of regulations. The first set is the Employment Regulations 2011. The second set is particularly for external employment. This is the employment, open brackets, recruitment of Ugandan migrant workers abroad, close brackets, regulations 2005. Honorable Seno talked about investors who sneak in foreigners to work in Uganda even when there is no gap. We have noted that. But the mandate to oversee which Ugandan enters Uganda and is granted a work permit is with the Minister of Internal Affairs, the Immigration Department. We have been in talks with them, and even the Minister of Trade. We have held multi-sectoral meetings to ensure that we harmonize this. The law is in place, but I agree with you, honorable members, that the enforcement is weak. Though, I want to assure you that the government is taking action on the matter. Honorable Chuanakakefa, yes, I agree with you that domestic workers, casual workers, and migrant workers are really vulnerable and they need special protection. The new law we are proposing, which is before Cabinet, seriously considers this category of workers. And as I said, when we bring it to the House, other members will have the right to participate and contribute to the measures we are proposing. It is also true that some of the measures are proposed in this bill, and we shall examine them with you once we go to committee stage. Honorable Jane Pachuto, you raised the issue of companies which engage in recruitment using other companies as proxies. No company can use another as a proxy to recruit, because in order to recruit legally, every company must be having a valid recruitment permit from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. If they engage in that activity, please report them to us so that we take action. Honorable Mutoni talked about two types of companies that recruit Ugandans. He talked about the registered companies and also what she called the pseudo companies. In our legal regime, there is nothing like a pseudo company which should recruit Ugandans. If there is such a company, pseudo, meaning that it is not registered, then what they are doing is illegal. And if they are taking our children abroad, they are trafficking them. And once we get a report on those activities, we bring them to the law. I think I would address other issues as we consider.
Okay, honorable members, I saw Honorable Mutebi coming in on Zoom. If you could, let's get Honorable Mutebi. David Mutebi is on Zoom.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity given to me to contribute on this very important bill. Right Honorable Speaker, this bill comes at a time when Parliament has been grappling with very many concerns about the migrant workers, especially those in the Arab countries. It has also come at a time when you have very serious unemployment challenges in the country, on the basis of which many of our people are employed as casual workers. Therefore, bringing in this bill at this time is very, very important for us, in as much as it is going to address some of the challenges that people have been facing, including the massive exploitation of workers, the maltreatment or mistreatment. Some of these people have their pay withheld. And because of the shortage of jobs in this country, the relationship between employees and employers has been one-sided. Therefore, this bill, when it becomes law, will address and provide a legal framework and basis along which the rights of these people employed as casual laborers and those in the migrant section are considered. At the moment, this one-sided relationship imposes a challenge on our people working in different companies, both home and abroad. Some are conscripted, and when you look at these people who are working abroad, there is no framework at the moment or obligation imposed on the recruitment agencies. Parliament has been grappling with cases where people die from abroad but cannot be repatriated because it is not adequately provided for in the law. We therefore need to come out with very, very clear provisions within this law that defines the relationship between casual workers, between migrant workers, and the recruitment agencies, so that we clearly get to understand from the beginning that when a problem arises, the person can be, or the dead person can be repatriated. But we also need to define the relationships that clearly states how a migrant worker may come back at will, because some of them have been going to work, expecting something and finding something different. And they may be interested at will coming back home to do other things or looking for other opportunities abroad. These are some of the things which we need to clearly put within this bill so that our people are protected from the onset. There are some companies that are permanently employing people as casuals. And because they know there is no choice, they continue being so. This bill, when turned into law, should define at what extent one should be a casual laborer and at what level he should transition into a permanent employee of a particular country. Then this one will provide safeguards or job security and indeed motivation for people to graduate from one category to the other. So instead of us, continuing to lament about what these companies are doing, let's entrench some of these within the law so that our people are protected, and as well, the employers are protected. Because even some of the casual laborers also at times tend to misbehave, and because we think, it is always the employer to misbehave, then employers suffer when they're investing enormously in these businesses which employ many of our people. So we need to firmly have a balanced legislation that protects both the employer and the employee. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, for the record, I want to note that the Minister has a desire to bring a comprehensive law. However, when he does, what he brings will be less. We shall mind us what we are doing now, so that you have less work for that. We are now ready for the committee stage. I put the question that the Employment Amendment Bill 2019 be read for a second time. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
The Employment Amendment Bill 2019. Bills Committee stage. The Employment Amendment Bill 2019. Clause 1.
Honourable members, the question is that clause 1 be deleted. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 1 as amended.
It has been deleted. Deleted.
Clause 3.
Members. Oh, Chair, you have something on clause 3? Clause 3. No, 2 will come last.
Clause 2. Clause 2.
2 will come last.
We beg to amend clause 2 by deleting D of clause 2. We also beg to amend by deleting E of clause 2. Also, in the proposed definition of employer in clause 2 is sufficient to cover household employee. That's the justification. We also 2G on page 8 of the amendments is related. We want to delete it. The justification is that to maintain the definition of migrant worker as in the Principal Act. The definition in the Principal Act is inclusive of both migrant workers to and from Uganda to other countries. In H, we beg to substitute for the proposed definition of recruitment agency the following definition. Recruitment agency means an agency, bureau, contractor, subcontractor, or person registered to facilitate the placement of migrant worker with a prospective employer within and outside Uganda. Justification: to enhance clarity and avoid vagueness in the definition of the terms recruitment agency. 2I, we beg to delete this justification. Consequential amendment arising out of the amendment in clause G. Also, paragraph J of clause 2 is deleted. This is our justification. Section 3 of the Principal Act restricts the application of the acts to an employee under a contract of service. A volunteer does not fall in that category, and it is thus redundant to have the definition in the Act.
Honourable members, I hope that there are no new definitions. Normally we leave this until the end in case there are changes in the definitions. But we have noted, we shall take the vote later. Yes, Minister.
Madam Chairperson, the amendment is generally agreeable. However, I have few small matters to raise. We propose that following the definition of domestic worker, we propose the following definition for domestic worker. And we are proposing that domestic work should be defined to mean any person engaged in domestic work within an employment relationship. The justification is to align it with the definition of domestic work in Convention C 189.
Now, Minister, I don't know, we have already agreed that there should be no spontaneous amendments. Okay. Did you present that to the committee? Did you get that with the committee?
This amendment?
You are amending, but we don't have your proposals, and we don't allow spontaneous amendments.
Oh. The proposals. Well, they are not major, they are just minor, and they don't.
What's the impact on the bill? What's the impact on the bill of those proposals?
The bill?
What's the impact of those on the report?
I don't see any impact. That's why I said they are minor.
Chair, thank you. I think the minister has indicated to us that he's going to bring other amendments. And I think we would accommodate those amendments when he brings his, because he had rightly guided that when the minister brings his, it will be an addition to what we have not to these ones. So I think it is proper that since the minister did not circulate, it can come in the other bill, which he is bringing. And he said soon.
Yeah. So let's note the changes in clause 2. We shall come back to it in case there are any other changes coming in the bill on definition. Let's go to clause 3.
Clause 3.
Honorable Chair, clause 3.
Clause 3. We beg to delete paragraph A of clause 3. Justification. This is a constitutional amendment arising out of the amendment, section 2 of the Principal Act on the definition of contract of service.
Honourable members, the question is that subclause A of clause 3 be deleted. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 3 as amended.
Questions that clause 3 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Honourable Chair, clause 4.
We have an amendment. Madam Chair. Clause 4 is amendment of section 7 of the Principal Act. We beg to substitute for paragraph A the following. A. By substituting for subsection 4 the following. An employer shall put in place measures to prevent sexual harassment at his or her workplace. This is our justification. The old law required that these measures be put in place by an employer who employs at least 25 employees. But in this new amendment, we are saying that the law should have no limit on the number of employees to be protected against sexual harassment at the workplace.
Honourable members, yes.
We beg to delete the entire paragraph B of clause 4. This is our justification.
Chair, I'm looking at this. I'm looking
the clause is granted. The minister is already empowered under section 97 of the Principal Act to make regulations for the better carrying into effect the provisions of the Act. There is already in place the employment sexual harassment regulations 2012, which provides a procedure for lodging a sexual harassment complaint and the handling of sexual harassment complaints by the Labour Office.
Yes, Honourable Shamus, you had something?
Chair, the committee report begins by where in clause 4 they say an employer shall put in place measures to prevent sexual harassment at his or her workplace. Madam Chair, I'm looking at a situation where we have somebody having a domestic worker at home, and really, if it is at the right of this person to set up measures, I'm finding it a challenge because many individuals would, they don't employ very many people. They employ one or two, and they are the same people who sometimes sexually abuse these people. So I feel more comfortable if it is the minister prescribing these laws, measures, so that people are protected by the law. Not everyone is going to come up with his own measures. Every employer is going to come up with his own measures, especially those that are not registered as companies and agencies.
No, but remember, the workplaces are not the same. Can't you, as the owner of a home, put in place measures in your home, which is the workplace of that domestic worker? Can't you do that? So if the same person, then nothing happens?
I mean, Chair, is that the minister should be the one to prescribe that every employer, these are the standards. You're not supposed to sexually abuse anyone.
Now, honour members, what this proposal is making is that in the old law, it was only where there are 25 people. The employer was required to put in place measures when there are 25 employees. But the committee is saying there may be less than 25. Even if there are 3, they should be protected. That's what this is saying.
Madam Chair, I actually agree with the Honorable Nsamba. I cannot envisage a situation where across the country each home has its own measures around sexual harassment. I think this has to be somehow universal, applicable across the board. But I don't see how practically that works, having it in each household.
Can we look at the Principal Act? What is the Principal Act? Because this is one of the clauses. I want to see what the rest is providing. Can I have the Principal Act?
I have the Principal Act. I have the Principal Act. I have the provision of the Principal Act. This is what the Principal Act says. It says every employer who employs more than 25 employees is required to have in place measures to prevent sexual harassment occurring at the workplace. It's the Principal Act. Madam Chair.
I think, honourable members, the amendment is very clear. It is just removing just the 25, but should be general on all employers. And as you are here, honourable members, you cannot tell me that you can fail to put measures in your home against sexual harassment. Then why are you in that home? But you are putting measures on your people in your home. That's what they are saying, but other than limiting the number. For example, let me say this. Honourable Dr. Kefa has a home. You've brought a maid. You are giving her a special room. You are introducing her to your family. You are giving measures, giving it certain regulations in your home about this particular person. Are you going to see her as an employer or as a member of a family? That's what has been happening, right, Honourable Speaker. And that's what the committee is saying. That what you are putting in place might not be written, but they are those parameters that will not make this person be sexually harassed, beginning with you. But if you violate what you have put in place, you are culpable as well. That's what they are saying. Every employer, whether it's a factory, whether it's your home, put in place those regulations as per the Act.
For instance, honourable members, supposing there's a factory where people work overnight, are you going to say the women and the men will sleep in the same dormitory? Are you going to say that?
Actually, that's what I was telling them, that as long as you bring this person, they are very clear and you have been practicing them. Don't hide away from facts you have. Do your boys sleep in the same room with your daughters? The answer is no.
Honourable members, I put the question that clause 4 be amended as proposed. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 4 as amended.
Put the question that clause 4 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 5.
Clause 5, ayes have it. Clause 5. What, new clause?
Madam Chair, we have an amendment. Insertion of new clause 7A to the Principal Act. Clause 5 is amended in the proposed section 7A. A, by substituting the head note the following: 7A, prohibition of mistreatment against an employee. B, by deleting paragraphs D, E, F of subsection 2. C, by inserting immediately after subsection 2 the following: a person who contravenes this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 42 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 7 years or both. Justification. Reference the words abuse, harassment, or violence in that note, which are not subsequently referred to in the section, renders them redundant. The deletion of paragraph D, E, and F of subsection 2 is to avoid repetition, since the provisions are already provided for in the existing penal legislations, and a person against whom an offense has been committed can proceed under these legislations. In addition, Section 95 of the Principal Act allows for prosecution of a person for criminal offense committed against a person under the Act. Insertion of a new subsection is provided for a penalty for the offences created under the proposed section.
Members put the question. A new clause be introduced as proposed. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it. Clause 5. Oh, amended. It's not a new. Yes. It's an amendment. Okay, when the members have put the question that clause 5 be amended as proposed, those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 5 as amended.
Question is that clause 5 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 6.
Members have put the question that clause 6 be
Madam,
deleted. Those in favor say
Madam
aye.
Chair, we have an amendment.
You want to delete it?
We want to delete clause 6.
Yes. Put
We
the
beg to
question.
delete clause 6.
I've put the question that clause 6 be deleted. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 7.
Put the question that clause 7 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor. Clause 7?
Madam Chair, it is our view that the proposed amendment is not necessary because Section 34 and 97 of the Principal Act already give the Minister powers to regulate complaints procedures under the Act.
So, we delete.
On, just a minute. On clause 7? What they are saying here is the minister may by statutory instrument prescribe a simplified and accessible complaint handling mechanism for workers with disabilities, domestic workers, casual employees, and other categories of employees that he or she determines may require special protection. Do you have a Braille complaint? Do you have a Braille complaint system, Minister?
My problem is that putting this section here would be superfluous because already the Principal Act, if you look at sections 34 and 97, those in a general manner already authorize the minister to regulate complaints. So it is not necessary to single out these when already they are covered under those sections.
Where is section? Where is section? Who has the Principal Act? Where are my lawyers? Who has the Principal Act?
Madam Chair, the Principal Act never provided for casual employers, casual employees. It never provided for domestic workers. Madam Chair, I think the mover inserted or desired to emphasize this by including those domestic workers workers with disabilities and casual employees unless the minister can prove that it is catered for within the Principal Act. That's how we can delete that one, Madam Chair.
I don't know.
Madam Chair, if you look at section 34, it says special categories of employees. Without prejudice to the generality of the preceding sections of this part, the Minister shall, on the recommendation of the Labour Advisory Board, make regulations governing the employment of persons with disabilities, apprentices, and other categories of workers who, in his or her opinion, are in need of special protection under the law. Now, why this section is superior to the proposed section, it's subjected to the advice of the Labour Advisory Board. And it is so wide that the Minister can make regulations in respect of any category of workers.
You know, Minister, they are not just talking about the regulations, they are talking about a simplified and accessible complaint. That's why I asked you whether, do you have a Braille complaint system in your ministry? Do you have a system where the deaf can complain? That's what because this is what they're addressing.
Those
Do you have a system where the people who have no fingers, do you have it?
Well, the generator of the section allows for any form or class of special complaints, which would take into consideration Braille and any other specialized. You see, why it is special that is that in the future there could emerge other unanticipated special category.
You know, Minister, how old is this law? How old is this law? 2006.
Madam Speaker.
So have you made this law since 2006? This is 2021.
Madam Speaker, I know there are a number of regulations with the ministry, but I am also aware that the regulations are expounded from the principles in the law, in the Act, unless I'm guided otherwise. So what we are capturing is just limited. The details will be captured in the regulations as the minister is submitting. I beg that we retain that clause.
Minister, I think your minister has had no intention of making these regulations. This is how many years now?
15 years.
Put the question that clause 7 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. I have it.
Clause 8.
Put the question that clause 8 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Clause 8? Yes.
Again, our view is that this proposed amendment is not necessary because under section 13(1)(a) of the law, the labor officer can only use one method of dispute resolution. It's already provided for. Therefore, the proposed amendment seeks to provide what is already provided for in the Principal Act and what is practiced by labor officers even as of now.
Move on.
Madam Speaker, on that same issue, there is even a court ruling that the labor officers were applying all the methods. I am requesting our legal person here to give us details, then we shall read out of the case at industrial port.
Okay, let's go to clause 9 as they get the details. Clause 9?
Clause 9.
With the question that clause 9 do stand part of the bill, those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Same problem, Madam Chair. our view that the proposed amendment is not necessary because the principle behind the proposed amendment is already catered for by Section 34 of the Principal Act, which provides that the minister shall, on recommendation of the Labour Advisory Board, make regulations governing employment of special categories of employees requiring special protection. Therefore, the Labour Advisory Board is already clothed with a mandate to advise the minister on the protection of domestic workers and casual workers. Besides, Clause 12 of the bill proposes to amend Section 34 to specifically provide that domestic workers are special categories of workers. So it's not necessary now to include this amendment.
Honorable, yes, Honorable
Madam Chair, I think the minister is, I don't understand him because the Honorable Kunihira identified a problem that these domestic workers and casual laborers are not protected. Does he want to tell us they are protected? Because he's keeping on referring us to other special categories which are embedded in the Principal Act, Madam Speaker. Madam Chair, because they were categorized as other, that's why they are ignored by his ministry. I think it is better we emphasize that in this process, instead of categorizing them as others, we say domestic and casual workers. There we will be sure that we've done a good job for these people, because the reason why they are not protected, because quite often they are categorized as others, Madam Chair.
Honorable Saliba.
Chair, I think the minister should also bear in mind that Section 34 that is referring to with regard to special categories, the term special categories is not defined in the Principal Act. And that's the reason why they are vulnerable and they are not protected. And it's what makes this amendment very relevant. Had the principal law defined what special category is about, maybe perhaps there would be comfort. Otherwise, in the absence of that definition, it creates a very big gap necessitating this amendment, Chair.
Actually, Honourable Minister, if this person were to go to court today, the court will first determine whether they fall in that category of social employees before they can give them a remedy.
Madam Chair, special categories are indeed special categories. If you attempt to define them, then you are limiting the principle. This section calls on the opinion of the minister. Special categories are not constant. They change with times. It's upon the minister, on the advice of the Labour Advisory Board, to determine from time to time what constitutes special categories. But if you define them and say, in this law, special categories mean this and this and this, then you are limiting them. If in the future something occurred which, in the opinion of the minister, should be regarded as a special category, then there will be no way of taking into consideration that regard. So I really plead that we allow the operation of Section 34 to remain that general, so that the Labour Advisory Board, the minister, can from time to time decide what constitutes special categories, and then they are accorded protection. Secondly, Honorable Member said that special categories are not protected because they are not defined, they are not specifically mentioned. I want to say that the legal framework is there. If it is true that they are not protected, it is not a question of inadequacy in the law. Maybe it's a problem to do with implementation. And if other conditions are not conducive, even if we express so explicitly in the law that express provision will not remedy flaws in implementation. It is true that there is a court case. In that case, the court discovered that the particular labor officer was doing it the wrong way, not in accordance with the law. But they didn't falter the law. They faulted the person who was implementing the law, saying that he uses various methods to determine disputes.
Is that the case we are waiting
Thank
for?
you, Chair. First, on the issue of special categories, I don't know if there is any effect if the two categories of workers appear in this clause. There is already people with disabilities. They are also apprentices, and they are recognized in the law. So we are just adding the two categories. I know the law is not static. When the minister identifies more other people who need special categories, he will obviously come and amend the law and include them. Madam Speaker, on the issue of the case, Uganda Limited versus Muguru, the Labor Disputes Appeal 2017, 2019, 2018. And he has also agreed that the labor officer was making an error. Madam Speaker, these days, because of decentralization, the labor officers are no longer under the Ministry of Labor. The labor officers are under local governments, and sometimes they even use community development officers to work as labor officers. So the reason we captured it is to cause clarity in the law.
So, what section 9? Clause 9.
I can see the spirit of the mover are interested that these two categories, domestic workers and casual employees, be specifically provided for. In my view, that can be remedied by looking at section 34, where it says, the minister shall, on the recommendation of the Labour Advisory Board, make regulations governing the employment of persons with disabilities, apprentices and others. May I want us to add the two categories in this section. Say, the minister may make regulations governing the employment of persons with disabilities, domestic workers, casual employees, apprentices, and other categories of employees who, in their opinion, are in need of special protection. Accommodate them in this paragraph, in this section,
Chair.
34.
Chair, we are on...
Now, we are on clause 9.
Yes, we are on clause 9, Chair. We have clause 12, which caters for what he is talking about. So let's work on clause 9, Chair.
Honourable members, put the question that clause 9 do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. I have it.
Clause 10.
Put the question that clause 10 do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. I have it.
Clause 11.
Put the question that clause 11 do stand part of the bill. Those in favour say aye, the contrary no. I have
Clause
it.
12.
Now clause 12.
We have an amendment. Madam Chair.
Yes.
Clause 12. We have an amendment relating substitution of section 34 of the Principal Act. We move to delete the words household employee and volunteers appearing in the line 5 of the proposed section 34. Justification. It is a consequential amendment arising out of amendments clause 2E and J.
But now the people who write these reports, the way they are writing, now they are saying you are substituting section 34. But what they are doing is to delete 3 words. I put the,
It is substitution.
is it substitution or deleting?
Substitution or deleting.
No, you are deleting.
Substitution.
You are deleting. You're not substituting, you are deleting some words. On the members, I put the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 12 as amended.
Question is that clause 12 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 13.
Clause 13. Which here?
Thirteen. Amendment of section 37 of the Principal Act. Substitutes for the clause 13 the following. Insertion of new section 37A in Principal Act. The Principal Act is amended by inserting immediately after section 37 the following. 37A. Obligations of employer of migrant. An employer employing a migrant to work in Uganda shall A. Ensure that the employment is in accordance with this act, the standard contract of service, and other applicable laws, regulations, and collective bargaining agreements. B. Provide the migrant worker orientation on the terms and conditions of employment and other relevant information, including the rights and duties under his or her contract of employment prior to or on the place of engagement. C. Ensure that the migrant worker has a valid permit. D. Keep a register of all migrant workers employed at the workplace. E. File annual returns to the district labor officer of the area in which the workplace is located with details of the migrant worker employed. F. Repatriate a migrant worker on the expiry or termination of the contract of service for which he or she was recruited, notwithstanding the reasons for termination. 2. A person who contravenes this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 200 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or both.
Now, again, what I see here,
the current
you know, you are saying you're introducing a new subclause, but it's the same. Because either you're substituting for 37, this one, but not say new clause after 37, because that would mean this and the new subsection will come. Just say you amend clause 37.
Here, the committee report picked exactly what the mover had proposed in 37. There is no new insertion. Actually, they just picked they are the same throughout from A to F. In the movers bill.
Chair, we think that even this proposed amendment is not necessary because sections 4, 23, and 25 of the Principal Act already provide that any employment contract shall be in accordance with the Act. Furthermore, it is unlawful in the Act for a foreigner to work without a valid permit under Section 39 of the Citizenship and Immigration Control Act. Again, Section 37 of the Principal Act already prohibits the employment of someone who is unlawfully present in Uganda. It is therefore not necessary to have any other legislation on the matter because it will cause confusion. Lastly, Regulation 20 of the Employment Regulation 2011 already provides for keeping and filing of returns by the employers to the commissioner. I beg to submit.
Yes, Honorable Oshabe.
Chair, we have a situation in this country. These people bring employees here. They, after they have worked with them, they leave them on the streets. They don't want even to know what happens to them. It is the same situation that is happening to our children when they go outside. I want the minister to come through here and tell us, no, the Honorable Chair, it is because we failed. That's why this is happening. But the mover is coming out to bring a solution of a problem that is happening in this country. Right Honorable Minister, kindly let us know, because you're keeping on insisting that we have these laws, we have this, like what you're proposing right now. Here, somebody is providing a remedy for migrant workers who suffer here. They are brought, they are imported here, they are brought here to work, and they are kept as inhuman beings here, in our country here.
Honorable Moding.
Madam Chair, I think I want to support the private member on this particular clause, in line with what we see on the streets of Uganda, particularly the areas the minister is talking about. If we maintain, is it not okay for us to maintain clause paragraph D, E, as well as F, because they provide a solution to the challenges that the labor market has right now. If we look at the people that come into this country, most of the time after their contracts have terminated with those who brought them into the country, they assimilate into the main market, and no one follows to know, no one knows where they are, and they overburden already the small market that we have, labor market in Uganda. So keeping a register is an important thing at the workplace, but also filing returns with the labor district so that we can be able to trace these migrant workers and also be able to streamline the labor market in Uganda as much as we can, Honorable Minister. I pray that you maintain these particular provisions.
Members, actually, other than the currency point, I've not seen the substantial difference between what is in the bill and what is purportedly being inserted. So, okay, members, I think let us amend the marginal note to read obligations of employer of migrant worker. That's the marginal note. And then the rest, the other amendment is on the currency point. Instead of 100 currency points, it's 200 currency points, or imprisonment not exceeding 3 years. That's the difference. So I put the question that clause 37 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Madam Chair, I think there was a problem under clause 13. There is already, we are adding, the proposal in the bill is going to be an addition under 37A. We are retaining what is already in the bill under 37. That's why there is 37A.
No, but 37A is saying the same thing as the old 37. So let us retain the old 37. We just change the marginal note and also the currency point. Okay. So we've only amended the marginal note and the currency point in section 37. So I put the question that clause 37, clause 13 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 13 as amended.
Question is that clause 13 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 14.
Clause 14, I put the question that clause 14, something on
amendment. 14. Clause 14, it is on page 13 of the amendments. Clause 14 is amended by A, deleting A of clause 14. B, by deleting the word Ugandan wherever it appears in the clause. C, in paragraph B, by substituting for the proposed section 12B the following: a recruitment agency shall undertake due diligence on the suitability of an employer under whose employment it intends to place an employee. 2, by inserting a new paragraph immediately after D of subsection 2C. Comply with any other conditions as may be set by the Minister by regulations. 3, by inserting a new paragraph immediately after paragraph H of subsection 2D. Any other category of persons as may be prescribed by the Minister through regulations. 4, by inserting a new subsection immediately after the proposed subsection 2B, the following: 2E, a recruitment agency shall repatriate an employee back to Uganda at the expense of the recruitment agency. C, by deleting E of clause 14. D, in paragraph F, by substituting for the words 20,000 currency points the words 120 currency points. Now the justification. 1, paragraph A of clause 14 is redundant given that section 38 of the Principal Act caters for the same proposals. 2, the deletion of the word Ugandan is a consequential amendment arising out of amendments by deletion of proposed 2G and I. The subsection of the proposed subsection 2B is for clarity. 4, the recruitment agency should have obligations to repatriate a Ugandan employee it recruits for external employment so that Ugandan workers do not continue being stuck in foreign countries after losing employment. 5, paragraph E of clause 14 is redundant given that the Principal Act empowers the Minister to make regulations for carrying into effect the provisions of the Act. Last, to ensure penalty is commensurate to the offence.
Honourable members, I had asked earlier what happens to the dead bodies. You're repatriating an alive worker, but what about the dead bodies?
The law was not clear, but Mr. can answer.
Madam Chair, under our regulations, the Minister is empowered to make regulations to govern externalization of labor. Under the regulations, the Minister is empowered to formulate standard contracts between the worker and the employer, between a recruitment agency and a receiving agency at the other end. Those standard agreements are there, and they expressly provide for repatriation both of workers who, for any reason, are no longer able to work, but also repatriation of their bodies when they demise. That is contained in the standard agreements that we insist on. And I want to state that the practice has been, and it has been strictly adhered to, that when a person dies abroad, the recruitment agency which deployed him must repatriate the body. It is true, like the honourable member earlier pointed out, some people go on their own, either through those so-called pseudo companies, which are termed traffickers, or on their own, where there is no responsible company, and the problem we encounter arises from those who don't go through our normal official channels. But on that note, I have no problem with the provision being in the law. But I wanted to
in the course of duty. A lot of Ugandans out there sometimes get sick, and actually companies usually do not take care of them that much. And so it is important to be very, very clear on these particular issues. There are also companies which are young and cannot afford these costs and all that, so sometimes it comes back to the family. I don't know, maybe the Honorable Minister has more information on that, but we feel most of the cases that have challenges of ill health and death while there, they usually come back to the families. Many members have handled such cases.
So can we have someone structure? Honorable Kunihira, can you structure a small paragraph on the repatriation of the dead under clause 14? Okay, as she's drafting, that will be would that be an addition? Would that just draft another paragraph on clause 14 to deal with the repatriation of the dead workers? In the meantime, let's go to 15.
Clause 15.
Members, I put the question that clause 15, there's something on 15. Yes.
We have an amendment on page 14 of the amendments. By deleting subsection 2 of the proposed section 38A, in subsection 4 of the proposed section 38A, by substituting for the words 10,000 currency points, the words 120 currency points. Justification. The details proposed under subsection 2 should be provided in the resolutions made under the Principal Act. 2. To make the penalty commensurate to the offence. That's our amendment.
The members put the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 15 as amended.
Question is that clause 15 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no.
Clause 16.
Put the question that clause 16 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, the contrary no. Ayes have it.
Clause 17.
Honorable Chair, 17.
We have an amendment. Clause 17. Amendment is on insertion of a new section 56A to the Principal Act. The section is amended in the proposed section 56A by substituting for subsection 1 the following. A female employee shall not be discriminated against on account of being a breastfeeding mother. B. By substituting for section 2, subsection 2, the following. The female employee
each batching ku Impact Media Award kuti bawereza live buli lwakutaano saaziberanya paka mu kiro iyo akase kujja mbadde mbuza nti Ekintu kino kyogambye nti omuntu ayinza okwetereka mu self-isolation konti mwagitwogerako nga tetunagenda mu nyanzaala. N'ogamba omuntu yeteeka mu self-isolation oba neyeesosola siko kiri ng'afunye heartbreak. Olowooza tekiyinza kuleeta bulabe ku muntu.